dance for joy or lust or anger, and every time you haven't got it right.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Reviews, the series where we look at practical and sensible cars you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 2014 Volvo V40 Mark II 1.6 T2 R design. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the second generation V40 did not follow on consecutively from the first generation car, which was discontinued in 2004. This was only introduced in 2012 and actually replaced quite a few Volvo models, all sharing the Mark II Focus platform. It's actually on a Mark III Ford Focus platform, such as the C30, the S40 and the V50, which are all kind of vaguely similar actually. The C30 was the three-door hatch that was on a standard Mark II Focus platform. The S40 was the saloon and the V50 was the estate, which had stretched versions of that platform. And then you could argue as well, in some ways, this replaced the C70 Mark II as well, because it still used that platform, even if this is neither a coupe or a convertible. It's a five-door hatch. So clearly they were going after the BMW 1 Series, Mercedes A-Class and Volkswagen Golf market and Audi A3 Sportback with this. But with ingredients from the time of Volvo's ownership by Ford. So the base engine was actually this one, this 1.6 turbo, which has 120 horsepower. There's also a T3 model with 147 horsepower. Then there was a T4 with 177 horsepower. They were all variants of Ford's 1.6 Z-Tech SE engine, which is used in the Mark III Focus with all the power outputs that I've just mentioned, apart from this T2 with 120 horsepower. Above that was a much more exciting engine in the T5 model, which had 245 horsepower for the front-wheel drive models and 251 horsepower for the all-wheel drive models, which is really quite more interesting. It's a version of the engine that I've got in my 2006 S40. After 2015, when this car was facelifted, the engines completely changed. They got rid of all the Ford engines and Volvo's lovely 5-cylinder white block, which is a shame, and replaced them with Volvo's new range of engines called the VEA engines. I think Volvo Engine Architecture is the full name for that. The base engines were very, very weird. The automatic T2 and T3 were 1.5 litre engines with about the same, about 120 horsepower and about 150 horsepower for the T3. The manual models were 2 litre engines with the same power outputs, which was again 120 horsepower and 150 horsepower. There was a T5 model as well, but it wasn't a 5-cylinder white block anymore. It was a 2 litre 4-cylinder, but it produced the same horsepower as the previous 5-cylinder model had for the front-wheel drive cars, which was 245 horsepower. In 2018, the engines in this country were simplified yet further, where everything was dropped apart from the T2 and T3 engines. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So we've got the 6-speed manual in this car, which is very nice actually. I don't know if the gearbox has been replaced in this car, given it's done 150,000 miles and it's on its second engine. But it feels good. It feels really good. The automatic models at the beginning anyway were, I think, power shift based, and power shift gearboxes are not things I can recommend. So I think if you're going to go for an automatic, probably go for the post 2015 facelift cars, because be better that way. Or this nice 6-speed manual. It's a really, really lovely gearbox. This. It's really responsive. The throw is good. And the gear lever itself feels very nice in this car. Handling, as you'd expect on a car that's based on the Mark III Focus platform, is quite good. They don't quite have the immediacy of a Mark II Focus. And actually the steering is a little bit better in this. It's got a bit more weight and feel to it. A lot of the previous generation cars, like my own S40, the steering's really dead because apparently they removed the steering feel for the American market, which was a bad decision in my opinion. But you know, there we go. I don't work for Volvo, so this feels a lot more alive and better, which is surprising actually. It's a pretty nice car to drive. Well, viewers, weather could be better, but never mind. Especially if this is a white car. It's actually done about 150,000 miles, but it had a new engine at about 100,000, which is interesting. I've heard of problems with these 1.6 Ford Zetec SE turbo engines that were fitted to the Mark III Focus, which this also has, albeit a detuned version. But this one seems okay now. So I think these are quite handsome cars actually. The facelifted ones are even better. I can understand why somebody actually back in 2014 would have gone into a Volvo showroom and thought, wow, that looks quite nice, fancy one of those. Really equivalent, I suppose, to something like an Audi A3, Mercedes A-Class at the time, something like that. But Volvo abandoned the segment after these were discontinued in 2019, so it wasn't something that stayed for very long, and actually it replaced so many other cars. I think you could argue it was either 3 or 4 cars in Volvo's range it replaced, and then they discontinued it, so not probably the most successful car in terms of a legacy. Just looking at the yard design, we've got these twin exhausts on here, which for a little engine with about 120 horsepower as a 1.6 is probably a bit overkill, but never mind. So yes, unfortunately we don't have any sort of reversing camera or parking sensors on this, which you probably need because, as you can see, the rear window's not the biggest. Let's open up the boot. It's about 402 litres. It's actually bigger than it initially appears. It's more like the old C30 used to be. We've got this enormous kind of load lip, and actually the sort of opening isn't as good. My friend who actually sold me the S40 that's over there, he's now got one of these, and he says the boot's worse, even though the figures aren't that different. But make of that what you will. We should have a spare in here. I imagine that actually it's got a tyre inflation kit, hasn't it? I would insist on a spare for my car, to be honest. Got a little boot light in there. It's quite a step up to the floor. I don't know if you could get like an adjustable floor in this. It looks like you could. The adjustable floor would be a very good accessory to be able to actually slide things through to the other side. Other than that, there's not an awful lot to say, really. I like these kind of rear lights. They look quite smart. I think they're also some of the other Volvos of this time, like the V60. Let's get in the back and see how much room there is. Ooh, straight away we're doing fairly well for a car like this. We've got an armrest and some cup holders. Excellent. And little storage places there, and little storage places there, and it's not bad. Let's just see what the material's like. Actually, that's soft touch. That's pretty good. It's probably better than a Focus or something. Of course, this is, you know, the same platform as a Mark III Focus. We haven't got the door sills kind of hanging out like we have in Mark III Focus though. Ooh, we've got some mood lighting going on as well. You can just about see that actually, a little blue mood lighting. Fantastic. Got my foot in there. Right, it's okay. It's not the best. The other thing is, this is an R design, and the headlining is really, really dark. Like, you can barely see in here, which is not my preference. In comparison with the S40 I've got, everything's nice and light in there, but never mind, that's just my preference here. Some of you like these dark cabins, otherwise manufacturers wouldn't sell them with cabins like this. So cup holders, yeah, excellent. Does that go back in? Yes, it does. Does this go back in? Yes, it does. But that's quite easy to just sort of pull out like that. That's quite neat, isn't it? That's pretty neat. So yeah, spacious enough. It just feels very dark and a bit cramped because the size of these rear windows, they're absolutely tiny for a car like this. So yeah, I suppose you could use this for a family. It's just all a bit kind of sombre in here. We've got little bits of, I think this is part leather. It could be Artico leather actually. It's a Volvo, contemporary one, but I'm not sure. Yeah, well, let's have a seat to the front, shall we? Okay, we don't actually have keyless entry. It looks like a keyless entry key, but it's not. I'll show you how you use this a bit later. It's just manual seats in this, which is fine. Some of the switchgear is actually very similar to the stuff in my S40, such as those electric window and mirror controls. Very similar, and the stalks, they feel slightly better, but they are very similar. And the overall design of this is very much based on something like an S40. I do apologise, my phone vibrated there. So the key just goes up here, and then if you want to start the car up, you do that. It's a tiny, tiny screen, isn't it? Tiny screen. And then we've got digital instruments in here, which I don't know if I like those or not. I'm not really sure. But there we go. See, the controls look quite neat. They are a little bit different. I suppose you can dial a number on the move if you really want to. If I don't think most cars have that feature anymore. Auto stop start. We've got this blue bit here. I suppose it makes it nicer. Steering wheel. It looks like it's got a cover on it. I don't think it has though, which is not my favourite, I suppose. Again, it's quite similar to the sort of R-Design C30 that I drove at the end of last year. Maybe not a surprise. Nice big door bins. Material feels good. It's not quite as soft as I thought it would be. That's nice though. Top of here, very, very, very small screen, like titchy little screen. Let's see what happens. I press the media button. Whether that is, yep, that's the sort of thing. Well, fortunately, I think I've turned off the sound on here, which is good. Let's try the main menu and see if there's anything else on here. That doesn't do anything. Exit, menu. This is a bit confusing. This isn't the best. Right, my car, does that do anything? Oh, there we go, trip statistics. How do we go up and down? Do we just use this thing here? Yes, we do. It's a bit like a BMW iDrive system, except it's not. Let's just have a look at the trip statistics very briefly. We're not going to spend a long time in here. 33 miles per gallon, there we go. That's all we really need to know, I think. Might take that thing out in a second. And I don't get the secret mission office in past it. Yes, I can. See if they fit in there. Yeah, nice big glove box. That's very impressive, actually. Oh, nice 6-speed manual. Nice normal handbrake. Cup holders. Yeah, very similar to the centre console design to my S40, actually. And then back there we've got a USB port. Yeah, it's all right in here, I suppose. It's not the most exciting, but it's okay. Do we actually, if we start her up, put the clutch to do this. Right, so if we can get rid of the information warnings here and things, can I get rid of this? Hold on a second, viewers. Weirdly, that panel there sort of controls the scroll wheel. That screen in the middle, if my phone will focus there. This stalk and the little wheel on here actually controls this. So let's see what else we've got on here. Oh, it's really tiny. It's like a little thing over here. Yeah, average speed. There's not much going on there, is there? That's not that exciting, is it? Okay, we'll turn her off. We don't need to waste fuel, do we? Let's have a look under the bonnet. So you've got a big plastic cover on top of here, but that coolant reservoir gives it straight away. Hello to Ford's good old Zetec SE, Sigma or Duratec engine that was originally actually released in 1995 in the Fiesta Mark IV, but this is obviously a heavily modified version of that. It's 1.6 litres of capacity with a turbo and produces around 120 horsepower, which not an engine that's used in the Focus. They tended to use more powerful turbos or normally aspirated ones. It looks very cramped in here. I wouldn't want to do too much. I mean, once that covers off, obviously I don't think things like the cam belt will be too difficult. But this engine's only done 40 odd thousand miles, I think. Actually, it was replaced when the car did about 100, so it looks pretty clean actually. Yeah, I mean, it's a modern engine really, there's not an awful lot to say. But later cars had different engines which were Volvo's own design, and by 2014 Ford didn't own the company, but they had between 2000 and about 2010, so that's why we've got so much Ford influence in this car, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Mark III Focus is quite a good place to start, but yeah, there we go. Right, let's go out for another spin, shall we? One thing I would say is the ride is a little bit on the jiggly side, probably because we've got the R design model here. If it was like an SE Lux or something like that, it wouldn't be like this. And that would be my preference as always, because viewers, I prefer luxury over sportiness. That's always been the way for me. But yeah, it's quite pleasant. You sit what feels to be quite low in the car, but it's probably normal. It just probably is because of this sort of quite large and steeply raked windscreen, and the fact that you sit relatively high in the car that makes it feel sort of a bit more cramped. But I suppose if you go for a sort of sporty feel, then that's what it is. Yeah, it's quite a pleasant car. I sort of prefer the older generation of Volvos myself. You know, member of the Owners Club and things like that. That could be it. But yeah, this is fine, I suppose. Let's now look at some second generation V40 trim levels. So when the car was launched in 2012, the main ones were ES, SE and R design. After the facelift in 2015, ES and SE were replaced with Inscription and Momentum. R design remained. There's a load of different variants. The cross-country model, which was available for a time, which looks a bit more like an SUV, though it doesn't really have much more of a way of off-road ability than one of these. There was the cross-country edition, the cross-country Nav Plus, and the cross-country SE. Other trim levels, variants, the ones we already mentioned: SE Nav, ES Nav, Inscription Edition, Momentum Nav Plus, R Design Edition, R Design Lux, R Design Lux Nav, R Design Nav, R Design Nav Plus, R Design Pro, SE Lux and SE Lux Nav. Far too many trim levels really for a car like this, but that's Volvo for you. So viewers, should you consider one of these for your hard-earned budget between £1,000 and £5,000? Well, this one is actually under £5,000 right now at LSB Car Sales in the factory in Berkshire. Thank you to Lee once again for the loan of his car. And it seems okay. I think I'd prefer something like an SE Lux because this interior is just far too dark for me. But you know, your mileage may vary. Obviously, if you're buying a 1.6 turbo engine, make sure it doesn't suffer from catastrophic failure like this one has, which is why it was replaced. And yes, you know, a lot of the common problems are the same as the Mark III Focus that we've covered on the channel before. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below, and we shall see you again very soon for some more reasonably priced motoring.